Hello and welcome to another fun-filled, I don't know how fun this one's going to be, episode of Adam's Music Box, where today we're going to be talking about the price of tickets and what this means for the fan and what this means for live music in general. Now, most people can agree that the price of the average concert ticket, particularly for big or medium acts, is too high. It's one of the very few things that President Biden and President Trump both agree on. But what can be done and what should be done? And the answer is, I don't think a lot can be done. And this is because of the model that's grown up around modern concert sales that has happened at the same time that the music industry, in all other aspects, apart from live events and merchandise, has generally either contracted or just sort of stabilized, but in an atrophying kind of way. Now, let me explain what I mean. One of the many reasons the ticket prices are so high is because Ticketmaster, as a company, whether you consider it a monopoly or not, it manages the whole shebang. It manages the costs of the venue, it pays them via the ticket sales, manages the ticket distribution, manages all of the legal ins and outs of selling tickets, and as a result, the price is high. If they had more direct competition, the price might be lower, but FOMO, the fear of missing out, sort of got all of these venues to sign up to Ticketmaster fairly early on, because when people buy tickets, they generally these days want to buy them in a centralized place. Gone is the day of waiting in line outside the sports arena or the Enormo Dome at 9 a.m. To buy tickets directly from the venue. And because that era is over, the affordability of smoking a doobie with your friends outside the sports arena at 9 in the morning, it's made everything more expensive, and the benefit is that it's more centralized. Now, a lot of people complain that these service fees and venue fees in particular push the ticket prices up, and they most certainly do. But there's an issue here that a lot of people are not talking about. We see music venues of all sizes shut down in almost every big city. This is not the fault of the artists. It's not the fault of Ticketmaster. I'm not saying Ticketmaster is great. They have loads of problems, but it's not their fault. It's the fault of local regulations, local taxation, state taxation, a very greedy asset management sector that makes Ticketmaster look like Mother Teresa. And these people are conspiring to buy up places large and small where people used to hear live music, and they're turning them into speculative assets, e.g., empty luxury condos that no one wants to buy, and even those who might want to buy them can't afford them. Excellent, as Mr. Burns might say. Now, some of the reason we have venues at all still in some markets is because of this Ticketmaster model, because it guarantees centralized ticketing that will, once the tickets are sold, guarantee X number of dollars to cover all of the venue's fees. And so this is a clear, if you will, insurance policy that allows venues to stay in business. And if Ticketmaster was somehow legally restricted from practicing this, would ticket prices go down in the short term? They may well do. But would we lose a lot of medium and even some large size music venues? Quite possibly, because the venues would have to rely on other means of making up their revenue. And venues that are independent, that don't rely on this model, are struggling. And again, it's not the fault of Ticketmaster that these small venues are struggling, because these small venues never really needed to rely on this model. And for many reasons, ethical and practical, they don't want to. But a lot of cities and states are making it impossible for small businesses, especially those involved in the arts and creativity. It's making it impossible for them to survive. So then there's the issue of reselling tickets. And that was the crux of the executive order that President Trump signed along with Kid Rock. When you look at the text, though, it's actually a very well written order because, unlike what the press is saying about it, it doesn't overpromise and underdeliver. The promises are very circumscribed, and therefore it may deliver because it says, look, we have laws already against ticket scalping when it's done by bots, but no one's enforcing enforcing it. So let's enforce it in a timely manner. Okay, that's good, and that might help. But a lot of the ticket resales are done by human scalpers. It's just the digital equivalent, but far more disciplined than what you used to see. So flashback to the good old days when you'd usually see a guy selling tickets to so that he could buy some drugs, or maybe get some shoes on his feet, and you'd buy them for well over the initial sale, the initial cost, and luck, and with a little bit of luck, they'd be the real tickets and not something that he drew with a magic marker on the side of a saltine cracker. And that's how it used to work. But now it's all digital and it's all legal, and I just don't think there are any mechanisms to take place under the Uniform Commercial Code or anything else to make human digital ticket resales illegal. Maybe there will be, and that could perhaps bring down the prices of the resold tickets. But a lot of the complaints are that the tickets, even at their face value, is just too much. And if you were to legislate that away by breaking up the relationship between Ticketmaster and the venues, or breaking up the fact that Live Nation, Ticketmaster's parent company, owns a lot of these venues, between forcing Live Nation to divest their properties and breaking up the link between venue payments and Ticketmaster's sales, I think we could lose a lot of venues. And the result would be fewer opportunities for musicians. And so, in other words, would that be a cure worse than the disease? Let me know in the comments. So, the long and short of it is, I think executive order is fine. I think that if they enforce the existing laws against bots, that might well do something. But there's no silver bullet for this. There's no miracle, because the way that the business model has been created, it's that venues rely on Ticketmaster to pay them or Live Nation to own them, and the way that artists are getting by is by selling merch. And the reason that the merch has to be expensive is the current model hasn't really seen any windfalls come into the artist. Unless you're Taylor Swift, you're not making loads of money by going out on the road. If you're a big band like Journey or the Rolling Stones, yeah, you're doing fine, but it's not like you're doing that much better than you were 15 years ago. It's that all of the associated costs are in some ways needed to keep the industry afloat. And I personally don't think that there's any way out of it. The only way out of it, frankly, would be for the states, the cities, and the to get off the back of venues in terms of tax and regulation. And then on top of that, for someone to restrain the asset managers who are making it impossible for an independent venue of any size to say, look, we want to deal with artists in a handshake manner, the way that it was, like I said, in the old sports arena days. So if you really want to break the stranglehold of Ticketmaster and Live Nation, make it possible for venues to operate successfully without having to rely on this successful but expensive business model. Will it happen? I doubt it. Let me know what you think. And as always, like, subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Take care.